Welcome to the Beyond You podcast, where we have real conversations about healing, trusting yourself again, and building the kind of relationships that actually feel good. I'm Samantha, and if you've ever felt like you're just going through the motions, like you're doing all the right things but still feeling disconnected, you're in the right place. Because here we go beyond the surface, beyond the hurt, beyond the patterns that keep you stuck. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Welcome and happy September. I'm so glad that you guys are just hanging in there. And I know everyone's been talking about this lock and stuff, but I want to make sure you're really there for your relationships. And so I would just want to be honest because I understand that a lot of times it's hard to step away in something that wasn't good for you. And I want to make sure that you are not second guessing yourself in your relationships, because as we're coming into the end of the year, I really want you to be just stay in tune with you. So what better way than really be able to lock in and just what's here for you, right? And so understand that we keep making, when we kind of keep going back to things, we're making it seem like options. And so your brain starts getting familiar with that soundtrack. What if I was wrong? What if I gave up too easily? What if I hurt them, right? And so we kind of keep getting in this cycle and keep going back to the same thing. And if you're nodding right now, this conversation is for you. And I'm Samantha Saunders, and from the Beyond You podcast. And today we're talking about why your inner critic gets so loud when you choose yourself, and how to trust your own wisdom enough to stop looking back. Because I understand how hard it is when keep having to look back to make sure that you are not kind of repeating the same thing, or just start feeling bad or second guessing ourselves. Because I've had friendships that broke me, that were dramatic or explosive, because it was but understand when there's friendships and those relationships is so quietly erasing me, right? And so, I've had situations where someone had been a friend for years, and somewhere along the way our friendship had become this just kind of one-way street, where I was calling, the one calling, the one checking in. And I've had this in relationships too. The one available, right? The one available when the person needs to vent, but then the person not there for you. And when I was going through a hard time, it was just crickets a lot of the times. When I had exciting news to share, she listened to for about 30 seconds before turning the conversation back to what was happening in her world. And I know the relationship this happens as well. So a lot of times you start to feel invisible in your own friendship or own relationship. Like you feel like you're the emotional support system or the coach, I hear a lot of people saying, And so after one particularly painful conversation where she spent an hour complaining about her problems and then had to run, where when I tried to share something that I was struggling with, I made a decision that I was done, right? And you got to find out what your limit is for yourself. So I stopped reaching out. I stopped becoming available for every crisis call. I let the friendship naturally fade because I was exhausted from carrying all the emotional weight. And girl, when I tell you, the guilt hit me, because I started thinking, okay, maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe she's going through a lot right now. Maybe I should have tried harder to tell her how I felt. Maybe I'm a terrible friend who gives up when things get hard. A lot of times we're doing all this questioning to ourselves, but not realizing on how it was eating away at us. And I understand now that I was second guessing myself so hard, I almost texted her to apologize for protecting my own peace. And a lot of times you do this all the time. I almost convinced myself to go back to a friendship that was slowly killing my spirit because my inner critic was louder than my inner wisdom. And this can happen to you too. But at the time, then my therapy people were talking to asked me something that changed everything. If your niece came to you and described the exact friendship, what would you tell her? Or if your close friend told your other close friend, or if it's your daughter, whoever will come to you and tell you the same thing, and what would you tell them? And you have to be able to think about on why are you allowing people to drain you, right? Nobody owes unlimited access to your energy because you're used to having it. That's when I realized my second guessing wasn't wisdom, it was just programming. I've been taught that choosing myself was selfish, that walking away made me the bad guy, that good people stick it out no matter what. Like, we tell ourselves these things. And I just want to kind of tap into and just why we second guess our good decisions. Because let's talk about why this happens, because understanding the why is the first step to breaking free from it, right? And that's what we always kind of talk about that in the episodes. We second guess ourselves for a bunch of reasons, but here are the big ones that I see over and over in my practice, just people I've talked to and helped thousands of women over the years. We've been taught that our needs don't matter as much as other people's comfort, especially just women, and especially women of color. We learn early that being difficult or demanding comes with consequences. So when we finally stand up for ourselves, that old programming kicks in. Who do you think you are to have standards, right? We confuse our kindness with self-abandonment, right? We think being a good person means accepting whatever people give us, even when it's not enough. So we think compassion means tolerating bad behavior. We think love means never saying no, but that's not kindness. That's people pleasing dressed up. That's all it is. So we're afraid of being seen as a villain in someone else's story, and nobody wants to be the bad guy, right? So we'd rather doubt ourselves than risk someone else thinking we're mean or selfish. But what we have to understand is that someone's going to be uncomfortable with your boundaries no matter what. And that is okay. Boundaries are for you to protect your peace. So really the question is, are you going to choose their comfort or your well-being? Because we mistake guilt for just a moral compass, right? Just because we feel guilty about a decision doesn't mean it was the wrong decision. Sometimes guilt is just an unfamiliar feeling trying to get your attention. So when you've spent years putting everyone else first and choosing yourself can feel foreign, and foreign can feel wrong, even when it's exactly what is needed. Because we've been conditioned to see walking away as a failure. And our culture loves a good, never give up story. But sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is recognize something isn't working and choose differently. So understand that walking away isn't giving up, it's allowing yourself to grow. And here's something specifically just for the Black community as well, because I know loyalty is everything, and sometimes we carry this extra weight of feeling like we're betraying just our people when we set boundaries, like we're not being right or die enough. But loyalty to others shouldn't require disloyalty to yourself. Like, I think about my own grandmother, who taught me that good women endure, that we don't complain, that we make it work no matter what. She didn't say it exactly, but just her actions would portray that. And understand the survival wisdom in that, in her time and her circumstances. That mindset kept her alive and kept the family together. And so we're using things that were from before and trying to take them into now. But what served her as protection became, just, I know for me, just this prison I was putting myself in and trying to be the best thing for everybody else. And understand that some people's behavior does not deserve your understanding. And the truth is, your intuition is usually the first time. The gut feeling that told you to walk away, that was your inner wisdom trying to protect you. The second guessing is just old programming trying to keep you small. And so what we need to realize is the stories we tell ourselves when we walk away, that makes it feel so challenging, right? So let's get real about the stories our minds create when we make the brave choice to walk away from something that's not serving us. Because these stories that just kind of play in our heads feel so convincing in the moment. Maybe I didn't try hard enough, but can we talk about this one? How much trying is enough? When you've had the same conversation 15 times, when you've adjusted your expectations to the floor, when you've made the excuse after excuse for someone's behavior, at what point do we admit that trying harder isn't the solution? Trying to make your words match or change your words up isn't what's going to help. And this one breaks my heart usually because it comes from women who are seeking for the absolute bare minimum. Like, we're not talking about unrealistic standards here. We're talking about basic respect, consistency, effort. You're not asking for too much when you want to be treated well. Maybe they'll change. Understand that I get it. Change is possible, but it's not your job to wait around for someone's potential to become reality. You can't love someone into becoming who you need them to be. And more importantly, you shouldn't have to. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. This one gets me every time, right? As I'm telling you these things I hear all the time. because it's usually code for maybe my feelings don't matter. Your sensitivity is not a flaw, it's information. When something doesn't feel right, I need you to trust that. Your emotional responses are valid data about what's going around you. And we say something like, maybe I'm the problem. Sometimes you are part of the problem, and that's okay. But even if you contribute to dysfunction, right? Even that was the case, that doesn't mean you have to stay and fix it. You can acknowledge your part and still choose to remove yourself from a situation that's not healthy. And here's what I've learned. When you make a decision from a place of self-respect and self-preservation, the decision is usually right even when it feels scary. When you choose based on your values instead of your fears, you're usually right on track. The second guessing comes from just often a place where you're wanting to be nice, right? You're wanting to avoid conflict. You're wanting to keep the peace, right? But keeping the peace at the expense of your peace isn't actually peaceful. What you understand is self-destructive. So recognizing when it's time to walk away is going to be key. And I hope you guys are taking notes on this, because let's talk about how to recognize when it's actually time to walk away, because sometimes we do need to fight for things that matter. But there's a difference between fighting for something worth saving and fighting for something that's already dead. It's time to walk away when your energy is consistently being drained instead of replenished. Healthy relationships, whether romantic, friendship, or professional, should add to your life. I say this constantly in my sessions. It should add to your life more than it does take away. If you're constantly exhausted after interacting with someone, understand this information. It's time to walk away when you've communicated your needs clearly and nothing changes. I'm not talking about one conversation and then giving up. I'm talking about whatever your limit is. I know mine personally is 3, but I'm talking about having multiple conversations over time where you've been clear about what you need and they've shown you through their actions that meeting those needs isn't a priority. And it's time to walk away when you start compromising your values to maintain the relationship. When you find yourself accepting behavior that goes against just what you believe in, when you're making excuses for things you would never tolerate from anyone else, when you're betraying yourself to keep someone else comfortable, it's time to walk away when the bad consistently outweighs the good. Every relationship has its challenges, but when you're walking on eggshells more than feeling safe, when you're stressed more than you're happy, when you're questioning yourself just more than you're feeling secure, understand it's not a rough patch, it's a pattern. And it's time to walk away when your growth is being stunted. If being around someone makes you smaller, if they can't celebrate your wins, if they're threatened by your healing and growth, if they need you to stay stuck to feel comfortable, that's not love. That is control. It's time to walk away when you start losing yourself. When you can't remember who you were before this relationship, when you're performing a version of yourself to keep the peace, when you're abandoning your own interests and goals to accommodate someone else's comfort. Now, I want to be clear about something though. Walking away doesn't always mean cutting someone off completely. Sometimes it means changing the level of access they have to you. Sometimes it means loving someone from a distance. Sometimes it means setting firmer boundaries and maintaining them. Like, you get to decide what that is for you. And I want you to do this consistently as well, right? Because the key is being honest about what you need to protect your peace and then taking action to protect it, even when that action feels uncomfortable. The mindset shifts, because I want you to really understand the mindset shifts that stop the second guessing yourself, okay? As we kind of roll into this, because I want us to be able to get into the heart of this. I'm going to share with you the mindset shifts that change everything for me and for so many women that I've worked with, I continue to work with. Shift from, am I being mean, to am I being honest? Honesty about what you need, what you can tolerate, and what you're willing to accept isn't mean, it's mature. So setting boundaries isn't cruel at all. I think a lot of people think it's mean, but it's clear communication about how you want to be treated, and people should know that. So shift from also what will they think to what do I think. Understanding your opinion of your own choices matters more than anyone else's opinions of your choices. You're the one who has to live with the consequence of your decision. Make them based on your values, not other people expectations of you. And also I want you to also shift from I should be more understanding to I understand perfectly and that's why I'm leaving. Like, you have to be very strong in this, because a lot of times it will say things to try to convince you something different. So understand that understanding someone's situation doesn't obligate to their or to accept their behavior, right? Because someone can have the worst possible trauma history ever, but doesn't mean that you have to deal with their dysfunction just because you understand it. So shift from maybe they'll change, or instead of like I'm changing the situation, what I'm willing to accept, right? You can't control someone makes their choices, but control your own. So you cannot wait for them to become different. You can choose to engage differently or not at all. Also, I want you to shift from I'm giving up to I'm choosing myself. It's a difference between quitting and recognizing when something isn't working. And there's a difference between giving up and growing up. Choosing yourself is surrender. Understand that it gives you your strength. So I want you to shift from but the history, right, that you guys had into just I'm creating my future, right? Just because you've known it for a long time doesn't mean you should invest all your time into it. I think a lot of this applies when people are like, oh, married for 30 years or 40 years, or I've been together for 5 years, whatever it is, we kind of shift, we just hold on to that. And then I also want you to shift from I don't want to hurt them to I know this is hurting me. I understand that it's beautiful that you care about people's feelings, but not at the expense of your own well-being. You can be compassionate while also being protective of your own peace. But understand that here's a shift that changed my life, right? Instead of asking, what if I'm wrong? Start asking, what if I'm right? What if your instincts about the situation are actually correct? What if walking away is exactly what you needed to do? What if trusting yourself is the smartest thing you could do right now? When you flip that question, you start operating from a place of self-trust instead of self-doubt. You start honoring your inner wisdom instead of questioning it into the ground. So I want to give this overall the practical tools to trust your decisions, because I always love to give kind of practical tools here, and I want you to be able to implement these, especially when we're doing this great lock-in and just really sprinting on our goals. To help trust your decisions and stop guessing yourself, I want you to first do a values check. I enjoy doing this. I always even write down my values because sometimes I forget them, because I really want you to be clear in your values. What matters to you? Respect, honesty, reciprocity, peace. Then ask yourself, does staying in the situation honor those values, or does walking away honor them? Make decisions that align with you, who you want to be, and not who you think you should be. And your values are going to align with you and what you need. So also then it's just to start future self-visualization that I enjoy doing. What would that version of you want you to do in this situation? Would she want you to stay in something that's draining you? Or would she want you to bet on yourself and choose differently? And then you can also use like the best friend test, right? If your best friend described your exact situation to you, what would you tell her to do? I know plenty of times I've done this, and I would, tell her like I would leave and get out, but then I wouldn't do it to me. I would think my situation is different. It is the same. We're often much clearer about what other people should do than we are on what we should do. So give yourself the same wise advice you give someone you love. Also, the energy audit helps as well. Like, I want you to pay attention to how you feel before, during, and after interacting with per situation. I really recommend with people who are dating as well to be able to do this, to be able to really write down, okay, even in my relationship, be able to like be with the person and see, okay, how do I feel after the person? And just really just checking the patterns, just kind of checking in with yourself and just trusting, okay, oh, I felt great, like I want to see this person again, or whatever that feels like for you. And also, when it comes to the boundaries, you can tell by you telling somebody one time and they're respecting and honoring your boundaries. Do they respect your limits? Because when you give someone boundaries, it tells you everything you need to know about their respect for you. And I want you to be able to really, truly check your progress as well. Understand, is the relationship staying the same or is it growing? Are you becoming more of who you want to be or less? Right? So healthy connections should support your evolution, not stunt. And I know a lot of times we stay is because we think that it won't happen again or we won't be in a relationship. And no, there are billion of people in the world. A lot of this dating process and just being in a relationship is a numbers game, and just really knowing exactly what type of person would fit you. This person have good character, but I want you to be honest with yourself. I want you to just read on what you've been writing right now, because understand that you doing this work and really assessing for yourself is going to matter, because as you're writing this down, you can say, okay, is this worth it or not? And I know we get so more about the future than just choosing ourselves. But understand, when you stay in a situation that's not working, or when you enable someone's bad behavior by accepting it, when I tell you, when you sacrifice your well-being to be comfortable, you're not actually helping anyone. You're not helping them, because you're preventing them from experiencing the natural consequences of their choices. And I get we're so worried about like the next person's going to get it. The next person will get the exact same thing this person chooses to change, and they're not choosing to change. And you're making it easier for them not to grow. So they keep staying stuck in these healthy and unhealthy patterns. And you're definitely not helping yourself, because you're teaching your nervous system that your needs don't matter, that your feelings aren't valid and your peace is negotiable every time you're doing this. So sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to stop enabling their dysfunction. And sometimes the most generous thing you can do is refuse to participate in dynamics that don't serve anyone. If you're enjoying this, please make sure to like and subscribe and share with someone that who you know that would need this. And this helps gets us to more people and really just be able to get us into more healthy relationship, authentic spaces. Understand that when we're so worried about someone else's feels, instead of worrying about how we feel about something, you're self-abandoning yourself. And a lot of this, I just want this episode just to be a wake-up call, right? That you need to examine your own patterns. It can be the boundary that forces them to take responsibility for the impact on others. Like, you can be able to help people through this. It's an impact that they will have by you knowing that you're not tolerating this. Okay? And so I really want you to be able to just show up for you and understand that you don't need anyone's permission to protect your peace. You don't need anyone's understanding to honor your own boundaries. And you do not need anyone's approval to choose yourself. Okay? So if you have any questions or comments, I want to be able to just let me know below. I want to hear just your stories and how you decided to walk away. Listen, choosing to walk away from something that's not serving you, whether that's a relationship, a job, a friendship, or any situation that's draining your spirit, takes incredible courage. So I just want to be able to just say that. And the fact that you're second guessing yourself afterward doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. It usually means you made the right choice. Your old programming is freaking out about it. Your instincts are usually right the first time. So I get it. It feels uncomfortable at first, but doesn't mean it's wrong, okay? That voice that told you to walk away, that was your inner wisdom trying to protect you. And the second guessing is just conditioning trying to keep you small, right? Because that's what was familiar before. So I really want you to trust yourself. Trust your experiences. Trust your right to choose peace over drama, respect over familiarity, and growth over comfort. Before I go though, I want you to remember this. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You don't have to sacrifice your well-being to prove your love, and you don't have to accept less than you deserve to avoid being alone. Walking away doesn't make you selfish. It just makes you self-aware that's not going to work for you. It doesn't make you mean at all. It makes you just mature about the situation. And it doesn't make you weak. I understand that it does make you wise. If this episode helped you trust your own wisdom a little more, share it with someone who might need to hear it too. Remember, the door you close behind, you create space for the doors that are meant to open in front of you. I believe in your strength. I trust your wisdom, and I'll talk to you next week.